Hey guys, so here is the final war of the season. Sorry if I sound a little bit raspy, but I'm having some bad allergies, but yeah. Um, so yeah, for my fights this war, I've got this Aarkus. Just a pretty simple Doom fight. The main thing here with Doom, is just not power stealing a bunch to give Argus a bunch of power gain. I mean, you can. There's really no risk either way, but I like to keep the fight mostly simple and avoid power steal as much as I possibly can. That's just how I fight Arcus. So here, I'm going to whiff the first hit of my L1. Because the L1 would power steal and give him another power gain. And then after this L1, I'm going to just medium heavy so I don't power steal with my lights to give him more power gain. And then we're just going to do some 5-hit combos with heavy enders until we're ready to just kill with the L3. And this just keeps the fight super simple. I mean, you can go for the cheese route against Arcus, but this is just how I'm comfortable fighting with Arcus. So that's what I go with, and then after this L3, we're just guaranteed to kill with the combo and an L1 and all. So pretty simple fight, you know? And then for the Chavez, with Nick Fury on Vivified, you can stun freely, so it's not really too difficult of a fight with Nick Fury, and tanking the L3 really doesn't hurt you at all. So we're just going to purposely go to tank our L3 and just nuke the fight, really. Quite a simple fight with Nick Fury. Not a whole lot of danger here. Um, the main thing is just don't lose your influence charges, and then you're good. But I do have second life free for this fight, so even if I lost my invuln charges, I'd still be fine because I would be able to go into second life and not have any worries because I don't have any more Nick Fury fights after this Chavez. So yeah, very very good counter for the Chavez on Vivified. Um, 4-hit combos help with power a lot as well. And Nick Fury in general is just fantastic for Vivified with how good his damage is and how he gets his damage with less combos and all. And yeah, uh, not too bad of a fight at all. And then we just fire off our L3 and it kills. I probably could have waited the bleeds out and that would have made it a slightly quicker fight, but I had the L3, so I just threw it. And yeah. Now moving on to my Section 2 fights, I have this Kingpin, this Iron Man Affinity War, and this Mangog. All three of these are some of the more complicated Path 7 Doom fights. So I think what they were trying to do was bait in, a Doom player that's less experienced with 200% Mystic boosts, because if you are not super comfortable with Mystic boosts, uh, and how they affect Doom's rotation, all three of these fights can definitely get a little bit sloppy. Now, mind you, even with sloppy fights, all of them are not really too deadly, just due to how tanky Doom is, especially if you have an R4 Doom. You can tank a lot of hits against these opponents, but they are some of the more complicated ones to get those perfect Doom fights in, and you do want to be comfortable with 200% Mystic boosts and Mystic Dispersion for Doom. So yeah, for this Kingpin, after we get our L3, we've just gone for that, sort of shortened combo with the 200% Mystic, and using, baiting as heavies gives us a lot of power for Mystic Dispersion. And thanks to that 200% Mystic, we just have a lot of options for what cycle I can go with after my L3. And yeah, now this L2 will just kill, and very clean fight on that Kingpin. Now for this Iron Man Affinity War, this is probably the most dangerous fight I have today, because he has a high crit rate, so he can actually crit Doom, and due to Aspect of Evolution, we're not going to be dealing very much damage later in this fight, and the reason he's placed here is because of that Aspect of Evolution, which is why I'm popping these Mr. Fantastic pre-fights to make sure he gets as little power as possible. Aspect of Evolution will increase his chance to get armor ups, and it will give him some crit resistance, which both of those factors just make this fight a longer fight. Uh, so having that longer fight with high ground combined into that definitely provides some more risk than you would normally expect in a Doom fight. So definitely one of the trickier fights with Doom. But I'm just gonna try and block as little hits as possible early on. Here we go for this heavy, little bit of risk there if stand your ground had triggered. I probably shouldn't have done that, and we've just got a perfect way to our L3 right now. We've controlled high ground amazingly. This L3 will remove that high ground charge, and we haven't taken a single tick of high ground yet, which is just fantastic. Um, and then after this L3, we just go for that armor up. Tried to remove the armor up with our armor break, and he ends up gaining another. Due to aspect of evolution, he's got a pretty high chance to just gain armor ups now. So I decided to pop this L2 off. I didn't expect these incinerates to do so much damage, and I also timed that slightly poorly. I threw it just a little bit too late. If I had gotten it off slightly earlier, it wouldn't have affected high grounds. And now he's at 14%, and this is where the real danger starts kicking in. Because he's going to get a lot of bars of power, which is going to make it so he's going to do a lot of block damage, both via aspect of evolution's block penetration and high ground itself. And as you can see, he's now got 3 high ground charges, so I really just need to end this fight. And we do another armor break, but again, he gets an armor up, and he can auto block at 1 charge here. We get this off, and then we just pop our L2, and it kills, and the fight is over. Definitely one of the trickier Doom fights. I think if you've got an R4, the fight becomes a lot easier with an R4 Doom. But Doom is a decent counter to it for sure. And yeah, this Mangog fight now, this is one of the fights where you really, really want to be comfortable with those 200% mystics. Due to Mangog getting less power from being hit, you can't really do the normal Doom cycle for Mangog. Unless he's on node 54, which is where you guys have probably seen me fight Mangog with Doom a lot. Because the aspect of evolution boosts him up a lot, but you really can't do normal Doom cycles without 200% mystics, which is why we have this 200% mystic popped, to just allow myself to stack Furies as if I was doing a normal Doom cycle, and again, being comfortable with those mystic boosts just makes Doom so much more flexible in what fights he can handle, which is very nice. And yeah, here we are going to let this indestructible expire to push me to my L3 and get into that cycle with Mystic Dispersion. And yeah, we're going to do some shortened combos into L3 for this Mangog. And the indestructible that will come from the when you gain 2 bars here will actually feed Mystic Dispersion a lot and make it super easy to get back to that next L3. And then after this next L3, he's just going to go down during that stun, and we've won the fight. And yeah, so this season, we went 6-5, and this final war was the one that just pushed us into Masters, so like a very, very important win. But we managed to win it. And as you guys can see, I get Masters. And yeah, that's just amazing. This is my first ever Masters title. Was a fantastic season in SSX. Big shout out to everyone in SSX. Really loved the group, and getting Masters was awesome. So here I go to the Sigil Market to buy a featured 6-star, and then I'm gonna buy another one here, of course, because I'm just too impatient to wait out for the next Sigil reset. And yeah, so first off, I get some Dragon Man 6, which is pretty cool. Dragon Man is in my prestige, and this took him up to Sig 117, so getting my prestige boosted a little bit is very, very nice. Not a super exciting pull, but he does boost my prestige, so it's a good pull nonetheless. Then I get Hawkeye, and this is a Sig 40 on Hawkeye. Not a bad pull, but I don't really have any plans to rank Hawkeye right now. Maybe in the future, if I do end up ranking him, that could be some valuable. And then, we open this Nexus. Um, and this is actually a really good Nexus. I get a choice to awaken either Havoc or Mephisto. Both of these I have at R3, and I love both of them. I end up going with Havoc because I think Havoc needs his dupe significantly more than Mephisto, especially if you use Sim Sub Synergy for Mephisto. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with those rewards and very happy with the season.